Hello everyone, my name is Sumit. I'm your digital chess coach and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to tell you how to improve your game in next 6 months. So I request all of you to watch the video till the end. It's a very important video for all of you if you want to improve your game. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so this is the point number one, how to get better at chess in 6 months. So first of all, play proper games. Which means that one of the most effective way to improve your chess is to dive right in and start playing games. You have to play at least 5 or 6 games per week. But I will not recommend you to play blitz games or bullet games. Bullet games is a big no-no. It can often teach you very little and lead to very bad habits. And when you play a classical time control game, you'll find it very difficult. So all the grandmasters, international masters, achieve their level of expertise through playing classical chess or longer time control chess, not by playing blitz games. So focus on games with longer time controls. Choose a time control which is comfortable for you, maybe 10 minutes to and 5 second increment, or 15 minutes and 10-second increment, or 30 minutes with 10-second increment, whichever suits your requirement and your time schedule. So the basic ideas that is that if you're playing longer time control games, you will get more time to think in the crucial moments. Spend 5 or 10 minutes in critical moments to ponder over some tactics or some ideas, and formulate a plan while searching for the tactical ideas in the position. So I recommend all of you to play at least 5 to 6 games per week of longer time control, and spend time at proper intervals in critical moments. If you are playing longer time control and playing it like a blitz game, it will not help you. Okay, so that is point number one. Point number two is improve your tactical vision and calculation. So basically, what I mean by that is that you have to solve tactical puzzles, so taken from real games if possible, which can improve your pattern recognition skills. So tactics is nothing but recognizing different patterns and solving it quickly. So when you solve a lot of puzzles, you should be able to identify tactics very quickly, and you can smell tactics also. Then you will be able to find them. So aim to tackle at least 10 puzzles per day and slowly increase it to 15 or 20. Diversify the type of puzzles you solve practically, and solve to practice different forcing lines, and study basic tactical motifs such as discovered checks, double attacks, pins, skewers, Greek gift, and many more. And LHS has provided a puzzle section which will help you to improve your tactical vision. So whenever possible, work on non-time puzzles, which means that there's no time limit for the puzzles. You spend as much time as you want to solving puzzles, giving yourself ample time to think through all the possibilities and moves and variations until you are confident in your solution. This is very important, and I think you should spend at least 15 to 20 minutes a day solving tactical puzzles. There's a section called puzzles. You go to puzzles themes, and it will populate you with a lot of puzzles which there are puzzles in different phases of the game, like the opening, middle game, end game, rook end games, bishop end games, pawn end games, knight endings, queen end games, queen and rook end games, and playing by opening also they have listed puzzles. You can find puzzles by motifs, and there's an advanced section, checkmating patterns, special moves, goals. So you can pick and choose which one you want, and try to solve puzzle. For example, if you want to solve fork and advance pawn today, you want then tomorrow you can solve the capture the defender and attack on f2 or f7. So like that, you can solve. You can select a theme and solve puzzles. Select a motif and solve puzzles every day, which will increase your tactical pattern recognition and tactical vision as well. So point number three Play simple openings. So a lot of beginners spend a lot of their time in studying openings, different variations. We go to Chessable. There are different courses out there for openings. So in YouTube, there are free lessons for openings. So I think if you're a beginner or intermediate level player, you should not spend a lot of time studying openings in there. So it's always better to keep it simple. Select any first move you want, e4 or d4, and play simple openings like Italian, which is easy to learn. Simple setup against the Caro-Kann, like the exchange Caro-Kann or the exchange French. I've put out a video describing the simple opening for weight. The elephant against the Sicilian, very simple lines, e4, e5 against the e4 lines, the open lines, and the queen's gambit decline for black against d4. And you can use this queen's gambit setup against the English opening and the Reti as well. So rather than memorizing moves, focus on understanding the basic ideas behind each opening while adhering to the following general principles. This is a general principle you should follow while playing a chess opening. I mean, whichever opening it might be. The basic principle of opening is to develop your pieces very quickly and effectively towards the center. Control the center with your pawns and pieces, develop your knights to f3 and c3, not to h3 or a3. Avoid moving a minor piece more than once in the opening, because the idea is to develop all your minor pieces very fast, castle quickly. Avoid moving a queen too early in the game. So, early queen moves like queen h5, queen c2, queen b3, all are, uh, you should not do that unless you really know the opening very well. Like, for example, in the Scandinavian defense, you might have to move the queen very early. But otherwise, as a general rule, do not move the queen too early and do not go for early attacks unless you are properly developed and castled. Castle your king as soon as you can, which is very important. King safety is a proper priority. I have students who have problem with castling. Uh, you know, uh, Castling is important. Then you connect your rooks by moving your queen to a safe square, and your opening is over. So avoid uh, heavy theory openings like the Sicilian or Grunfeld, for example, the open Sicilian. If you go to Najdorf, 4 books have been written on subvariations of the Najdorf and the Grunfeld. There's no point in studying heavyweight openings until you become an expert or even advanced player or reach to a master level. Um, so learning theory behind each move at the beginner level is a huge time sink with minimal benefit. Also avoid hypermodern openings like the Perk, Modern, King's Indian Defense, or the Wiki opening. That's counterintuitive. It conceals the center, and if you don't know how to take advantage of it, it'll be difficult for you. And I won't recommend beginners to play the gambit openings like the King's Gambit or the Ivan's Gambit because it's still, you still need to learn basic tactics and checkmating patterns before you understand how to handle gambit openings where you sacrifice one or more. So after learning the basics and mastering the tactics, you can slowly explore gambits. Maybe, for example, the Evans gambit is very fun to play, and the King's gambit as well. So instead of memorizing the variations, try to find the moves by yourself, which on the board, which is a good way to learn chess. Point number 4: keep a mental checklist to avoid blunders. So avoiding blunders is a very huge step towards achieving improvement in your game. So every turn, consider following to start the most forcing move possibilities. So these are the few tips I have want to share with you to avoid blunders. So look for opportunities. So you have to ask questions to yourself. What options do I have to give a check to the enemy king or attack a piece? And you have to ask, do they accomplish anything by giving a meaningless check? Will it accomplish anything if they can block it very simply? If you can give a check and prevent them from castling, of course you should do it. You have to ask question: what your move will accomplish while you're making a move. Defensive considerations: am I in danger of being checked or even checkmated? So when your opponent makes a move, think what your opponent has have in mind, and can you parry those threats? Are any of my pieces hanging or undefended? When your pieces are hanging or undefended, then that is a time when tactics happen. That is a rule of thumb. So when a piece is not properly defended or undefended, tactics will happen in the position. Look for tactical opportunities. So ask yourself, are there any tactics in the position like you can create a fork, pin, skewer, etc. Piece activity. Can I place any of my pieces on more active squares where they have more scope to maneuver or attack your opponent's pieces or even the king? Positional gains. Can I occupy or control any outpost squares? What is an outpost square? And outpost square is nothing but an advanced square on opponent territory where one can plant their pieces that cannot be easily dislodged. Or can you occupy open files with your rooks? Point number 6, preventive moves. Can I prevent my enemy knight or bishop or rook or queen from occupying an important or square with a pawn push? Create blockades. Can I prevent enemy passed pawns from advancing further by placing a knight or bishop in front of the passed pawn? Point number 8, advantages and weaknesses in chess. So in chess, there are many ways to claim an advantage, which includes pass pawn, which you can push and queen. Open files, putting a rook in the open file is an advantage. Having an open file to if you can capture an open file, that's very good. And lead in development. When you have lead in development, there will be tactics in the position. There are also many weaknesses such as double pawns, king stuck in the center, and loss of material. So you have to ask these questions. How can I create a pass pawn? Or can I create a pass? I have a lead in development. So can I create an attack against the king, the opponent's king? Can I occupy an open file with my rook? Can I create a double pawn in the opponent's territory? Can I win material? If so, yeah, if I take the material, can my opponent create an attack? For example, sometimes there'll be a bait. Somebody might, opponent might sacrifice a pawn or even a piece. So just think if you grab the piece, you'll be up material, but then if there's any danger to your position. To prevent my opponent from castling, that's also a very big advantage if you can prevent the opponent from castling. How can I attack opponent's king stuck in the center of the board? So all these themes, you can Google it and find games and try to analyze those games, how the masters have, attacked the king if the king is stuck in the center. Okay. So there are example games also on these themes which you need to study. Then you will get an idea how masters have handled such situations. So as you continue to practice and play, you'll be able to go through this process much faster and without errors. So it is like learning to play, learning to ride a bicycle. Initially, it will be tough for you, but then yes, and when you get practice, you develop skills in riding a bicycle, and later you can ride faster, and you can even ride without with hands free. All these gymnastics and all these things you can do once you are an expert in that. So point number 5, enter the middle game with a plan. It is very important to have a plan when you're playing a game. So a bad plan is better than a good plan, as the saying goes. So after leaving the opening, once the pieces are developed, your goal should be to evaluate the board and create a plan based on your piece's strengths. What I mean by that is that your plan should focus on identifying imbalances in the position. So if the position is a symmetrical position, there won't be any weaknesses on both sides. So obviously the chances are if they play perfectly, the game will end in a draw. So you have to identify imbalances. For example, such as hanging or undefended pieces or underdefended pieces in the position and placing you have to place the pieces on squares where they can best exploit the weaknesses on your opponent's camp or exploit these imbalances. Once you have your strategy in mind, implement it using the following 4 steps, while keeping in mind the checklist of the previous point, which is the point number 4. Okay, so these are the four points. Plan your attack. Decide where to launch your attack based on its weakness on the king side. The king is weak on the king side, or queen side, or the center imbalances. Optimal positioning. Identify the best squares for your pieces where you can, where it can attack your opponent's weaknesses. Candidate moves. So it's very important. Generate a list of candidate moves in your mind. Place your pieces on those optimal squares. So you can arrive at the right solution by the process of elimination. Calculation and execution. Calculate each candidate move. If it works, you can play it. But before playing it, reevaluate after your opponent's reevaluate each candidate move before you execute it, and reevaluate your opponent's response to those moves as well. Ultimately, your goal should be to strengthen your position until an opportunity for concrete attack presents. There are some books which I want to recommend, but I want to make a separate video for that, for the middle game, opening, middle game, and end game ideas. But there are some books like Jeremy Silman's book, The Amateur Mind, explains and illustrates his principles with concrete examples, which is a good book. So this is a middle game book actually for beginners. Another excellent resource for learning how to identify and balance in the position is Jeremy Silman's How to Reassess Your Chess. Study the basic endgame setups. Games are often won and lost in the endgame, actually. A lot of times when you can't checkmate your king, checkmate your opponent's king, and your king doesn't get checkmated, the game will again enter the endgame phase where there'll be less pieces, especially when pawns are poised to be promoted to queens. So the goal of the endgame is to promote the pass pawn to queen. Mastering the most common endgame setups and studying basic themes such as opposition, and triangulation, and outflanking is very crucial. These principles are complex and can be adequately covered in few paragraphs. Of course, you have to look into it. There's a study in Lichess, actually, where they talk about these things. If you go to Lichess and go to learn and practice, you can see these the basic. You can learn these basic endgame tactics actually. And if you further scroll down, you can see this pawn and game, like key squares of position and rook and games as well. Okay, so these things you need to learn. You can learn from here, or you can get a book, an endgame book, which I will tell you which one is the best. A list of books for the endgame. So I'll be recommending selected books, endgame books that thoroughly explore various position making and making patterns in a separate video. Excuse me. So that's point number 6. Point number 7: analyze your games afterwards, especially after you lose. So it's important to analyze your losses rather than your wins. So win or loss, analyze your games thoroughly, because it is better to play a few games each week, like 4 or 5 or 6 games maximum, and learn from them than to play many and gain nothing. Maybe people play 30, 40 games a week, like playing roulettes and blitz games. That is not recommended. I would recommend you to play a few games, like 6 or 7 maximum, 1 game per day or something, and analyze them thoroughly. Play the games as though you're playing a tournament. Carefully reviewing your games will help you identify mistakes, and over time, you will learn to avoid the more common ones. Understand why you made such each mistake. Is it occurring frequently in your games? The extend your analysis further, you can prevent this from happening in your future games. Okay, so you have to identify where you are going wrong. How can you change your thinking to evolve as a player and avoid repeating this error? So this process will evolve you as a player, and everybody makes mistakes. Even Magnus Carlsen made mistakes. He reduced the difference between a good player and an average player is that the amount of mistakes they make. Okay, small errors they make. So that's about it. So this process will also develop your analytical skills, helping you to better evaluate the strengths and weaknesses of your coach. Now, point number 8, study master games. This is also a very important point when analyzing games played by title players, such as grandmasters, and also the greats of the past like Capablanca, Morphy, Fischer, Aliakin, Lasker, Stenitz, all the world champions. You pay close attention to the opening they have played. Maybe you can pick up a few and the tricks from them. And also the opening phase, once the opening phase is complete. But when do you identify the opening phase is complete? When they have castled, all the minor pieces are developed, and groups are connected. Okay? So analyze the position and try to understand each player's plan in different openings. Look for any tactics you can spot. Determine which wings they are planning to attack based on different openings are different plans. And whether the position is open or closed. Open position have less pawn chains. The pieces that have more mobility. Closed positions have more uh, pawns close together. They'll be cluttered. So in open position, bishops are better, and in closed positions, knights are better. And identify the vulnerabilities that can be exploited. So evaluate the strength and weakness of the minor pieces. Compare your analysis and predictions with actual moves played. A useful exercise is to play the guess the move. I used to play this when I analyze a game. I used to write down and predict the moves of my favorite player and see how often I get it correct. You can practice this, a very good way to improve your game. Always try to understand why a move was played. Okay, so it's always important to understand the ideas behind the move rather than blindly following it in your games. Because if you don't understand then the ideas behind the move, then how can you play it actually? Or if your opponent makes a slightly different move, you will be in trouble. So this Irving's Chernev's Logical Chess Move by Move. I have this book. When I was young, I had this. It's a very handy book actually. It is Analyze Master Games, starting with the 8 games of 1800 till maybe in 1960s or something or 70s. He has analyzed important games. Not 60s actually. He has analyzed games of Palyakin, Capablanca, uh, Pillsbury, Lasker. I think Lasker is covered, and Rubinstein. So it's a very good book. All the comments are there. The comments by the player themselves and also by the author. Point number 9: when studying chess, follow the 20-40-40 rule. What is the 20-40-40 rule? Specifically, this means you should spend 20% of your time studying openings, 40% of your time studying middle games, and 40% of your time studying end games. Okay, so uh, openings, I don't. I used to when I started chess, I used to study a lot of openings, but then I later learned that understanding the middle game strategy and also the tactical solving tactical puzzles and studying the end game is more fruitful than studying the opening. Because whichever opening you play, if you mess up in the middle game, if you mess up in the end game, the advantage you get in the opening is meaningless. So you have to improve, you have to work on all elements of your game. Don't get bogged down in memorizing opening theory and do not neglect your in-game practice. So point number 10, don't use chess engine as a crutch. So we have a lot of chess engine, especially for we have Stockfish 16. On Leeches, we get it for free. A computer cannot show you what your thought process are, when you made those mistakes. So you have to write down, you have to annotate your game yourself. So it's very important to go through your games all by yourself first, analyze it by yourself, write it down if it's necessary, and afterwards check with engines. Remember that the computer won't be there to help you during a game. Right? You cannot play like a computer. It will give you very forced and very deep lines, which um, maybe even Magnus Carlsen or Bobby Fischer can't calculate. Like the strength of the computer is maybe 3600 ELO, and the strength of a very strong human player is only 2,800. Use it as a tool to analyze later to correct your mistakes, but you have to analyze it, the games by yourself. Point number 11, create a study plan and stick to it. When designing a study plan, there are two key questions must be addressed. How much time you are willing to spend and how should that time be allocated to different aspects of it. Generally, as a beginner, for a beginner, I would advise to spend at least 7 hours a week. Study chess, like 1 hour per day, and study chess to see tangible improvements over the next 6 months. This time should be broken down as follows. This is my recommendation. Like you're playing games, 50%, focus on unlimited games or games with slow time controls, as I recommended earlier. Game analysis and study your games and games from the collection, identify critical moves and review your key mistakes. You should allocate 20% of your time for that. 10% for tactics. Every day it's at least solve 15, 20 puzzles, starting with 10, then slowly increase. Practice tactical puzzle either online from Leechess or from tactical books. Strategy 10%, choose a good book or a middle game book and uh, study general strategy or go through it at your own pace. I will post a middle game strategy book later in a later video. Endgame 10%, pay special attention to endgame drills, especially focusing on king and pawn endgames, rook endgames. And always remember that most points are won with precise endgame play in chess. So all the great players of the past and the present are great endgame players, especially Magnus Carlsen. He wins most of his games, like 60 to 70% of his games with his endgame skills. That's a very important piece of the game. You should not neglect that. Point number 12, work with a chess coach as a strong chess player. Right. So a chess coach should not be a very high-rated player or grandmaster. It could be a normal player who is little bit more stronger than you. So high-rated player can act as a mentor, someone with whom you can discuss your game, success, struggles, and areas of improvement. Ideally, such a mentor should be well positioned to give you next advice on what went wrong and review positions with you. Conversely, you can also work with low-rated chess players by trying to teach them, like, if you teach someone some ideas, you will also learn. Training other players can actually enhance your own game. Explaining different concepts out loud in detail can help you understand them on a deeper level. So I've tried it many times. I teach chess, I teach technology and digital marketing as well. So I have found out that teaching actually helps to learn as well. Many of the most successful chess coaches are not super GMs or high-rated GMs. Teaching is a different skill altogether. For a FM or CM or even a low, someone rated 2000 or 1900, who have talent to explain ideas and strategies are much better coaches than grandmasters. Point number 13, pick up a good chess book or three. So anyway, as I told multiple times in the video, I'll be posting a separate video for chess books. So books are open theory are not necessary at lower levels, but you should always be studying one book on tactics, one book on middle game, one on end games. For a beginner, these are three books. Quickly, I recommend Chess Tactics for Students by John Bain, Modern Chess Strategy by Ludek Pacman, and Silman's Complete Endgame Course by Jeremy Silman. And there are many other books as well, which I'll be covering in the later videos. And lastly, the last point, we have come to the very end of the list. This is the 14th and last point. You should have fun. Chess is all about having fun. You play chess. If you play chess with stress and a lot of tension, you won't be able to enjoy the game. So every grandmaster was a beginner. Even Magnus Carlsen, Vishwanath Anand, Gary Kasparov, uh, Bobby Fischer, they were all beginners. So as you improve, you have to lose at least 1,000 games to improve. That's the whole truth. You have to play a lot of games, you have to lose a lot of games, and losing is an essential part of the improvement process. And you should not take the losses to your heart. It is the process to improve, right? It's a process to learn. So it shouldn't be too much attached to the games. You should uh, See it as an opportunity to learn new things. So every game teaches you some new ideas, be it mistakes that you have made or some lessons your opponents might have taught you while beating you. Right? Um, so do not see a lost game as a personal failure. View it as another step on the road to improvement. If you get bogged down in a losing streak, for example, okay, you're playing Blitz online. I don't recommend that, but if you want to play Blitz online and you're on a losing streak, stop. Or if you're playing with your friend and you lost 2 3 games, you're not getting fun out of it. You should stop playing and and take a break, step away from the board for a few hours, maybe a few days, and come back with a fresh mind. And the next game is not moving anywhere, right? You can play a game anytime you want, and if you don't enjoy, you will not win. It's as simple as that. I hope you like this video with the points I've discussed. Please do subscribe to my channel. It will help me immensely to grow my channel. And also, you can share this video with your friends. You can also click on the bell icon where you get notified of my future videos. So until next time, bye bye, take care, and have fun playing.